Hi students, welcome to our second recording, and in this recording we're still going to be discussing how to properly cite a direct quote from a short story. However, you're going to notice if you look at the document here that there are a few more columns added, and this is the document in which you're going to be working from. So I have some examples here. Once again, my examples are coming from The Most Dangerous Game by Richard Connell. However, when you do this, your examples are going to be coming from the Cask of Amontillado. So when you work on this document, this is the first part of your one-pager, okay, your summative one-pager, and there will be a recording that explains that as well. But just know that you need to do this before you can do the one-pager, okay? So this is part of that process. And I would just like you to notice the two additional columns that have been added on the left-hand side. The first column says literary device or elements, okay? And if we go down and take a look at them, these are our focus literary device and elements for the Cask of Amontillado. We're focused on theme, okay? So what is the author's message? What is Richard, in this case, since we're talking about The Most Dangerous Game, what is Richard Connell's message about The Most Dangerous Game? What does he want his readers to gather, to learn from this? And when it comes to theme, there may be more than one theme or central idea in the text, okay? So you might have one particular theme and you will be able to support it with some significant quotes, and another peer may have another one, and that peer will have significant quotes to support it as well, and that's okay. That's perfectly fine. Our next element is mood, atmosphere, and setting. We have verbal irony, dramatic irony, situational irony, foreshadowing, and symbolism. So if I go down to the bottom, this is what yours is going to look like. Yours is going to be empty. You'll make a copy of it, and then you'll be able to put your direct quotes and your assertions and your citation information in this graphic organizer. So let's go back to the top and take a look at it. So the very left-hand column, it says literary device or element, and I've just went through and read all of those, okay? And those are all in there for you already, so you know what you're looking for, because these are the things that we're focused on when we're reading the Cask of Amontillado, and these are the things we're going to focus on with The Most Dangerous Game, just for the case of giving you this example so you understand how to do this assignment, okay? The second column says assertion to prove element or device. So after you have read The Most Dangerous Game, you want to be asking yourself the question, like, what was Richard Connell's message about hunting, about the topics that took place in the short story? And if we think about some of the topics, we might think about violence, hunting, danger, survival. Those are all different topics that we could think about when trying to construct a theme statement, okay? And the theme statement would just be the message the author is trying to deliver the audience or the reader about a particular piece. In this case, our particular piece would be The Most Dangerous Game, a short story, okay? So you have to make an assertion. An assertion is just like your belief about what you think the author is trying to convey. What's the author's message? Okay, and my assertion here is that Zaroff spends much of his focus on hunting. The hunt defines who he is as a person, and this causes him to forget how others feel or think about it because he is obsessed with hunting. We see this take place in the short story. General Zaroff doesn't care about the sailors that he's capturing, that he's luring into Ship Trap Island. He calls them the scum of the earth. He doesn't care about Rainsford. He forces him to play the game. He certainly doesn't care about Ivan. We know that because when Ivan is killed, he doesn't care about him, and he doesn't even care about his best hunting dog. Okay? So he is just so focused on hunting. So my assertion is that he just spends so much of his focus on hunting that hunting defines who he is as a person. And because it defines who he is as a person, he becomes completely obsessed with it. Okay? And based on my assertion, I made up a theme statement, and my theme statement is humans are dangerous when their obsessions consume them. Now, something you should be aware of with a theme statement is that it should be universal. And when I say universal, that means it should be applicable to anybody. So I say humans here instead of General Zaroff. I wouldn't want to say General Zaroff is dangerous because his obsession consumes him. If I said it with just his name in there, it wouldn't be universal. And that means it wouldn't be applicable to you or to me or to any other reader. It would only be applicable to the character of General Zaroff. So when you make a theme statement, you want to make sure that you're not using any characters' names, that it's universal, that anybody can read it and it could apply to that person. Okay? Doesn't mean that it's going to apply to all of us, right? It just means that it could. It has the potential. So this is my theme statement that I've constructed based on the assertion that I had based on what I read. And we're all going to have something different. And this portion is going to take you some time to think about it. You're going to need to use your critical thinking skills for this. Okay? Now, based on my assertion, I have to come up with some sort of quote to prove or to support what I'm saying over here. So if we look up here, the direct quote information in the 3 W's, just like the first recording, let's take a look at that. What is said? You see, I read all books on hunting published in English, French, and Russian. I have but one passion in my life, Mr. Rainsford, and it is the hunt. Now, to me, when I'm reading that, that proves what I'm saying down here. That is a significant quote to prove my theme statement, right? We can see he's telling us, General Zaroff is, well, he's telling the reader and he's telling Rainsford that I have one passion in my life, and that's to hunt. That is the only thing he's thinking about. It's like he has this tunnel vision, right? This narrow lens, and he's only thinking about hunting. So this is what I'm going to use as my significant quote. And again, we have to follow with the 3 W's. Who said it? Zaroff. Where? Page 18. And now I'm going to go back and I'm going to add, right here, all the elements for the proper citation. So remember, we have to frame it. So we have to identify the speaker. In this case, we know it's Zaroff. So General Zaroff says, it's not a full sentence, so I'm going to use a comma. You see, I read all books on hunting published in English, French, and Russian. I have but one passion in my life, Mr. Rainsford, and it is the hunt. That is where the quote ends, so this is where the quotation mark goes. However, it's not the end of the sentence because I still need to give credit to the author. So now I need to add my parenthetical citation. So we have a parenthesis, author's last name, Connell, space, page number, parenthesis again, followed by a period, because this is where my sentence ends. Okay? So what's the added step here in this portion compared to the first recording that I showed you? The added step is now you are focusing on each literary element device that we're working on within the short story, and then you're making an assertion. You're going to add your belief about it. And then after that, you have to have a quote that proves your assertion or your belief. Okay? These other 2 boxes here, we've already done this in the first recording. Okay, so we're really only adding 2 steps. All right, so let's look here. Now I need to prove the mood, the atmosphere, and the setting. Okay, so I'm saying it's so dark, Rainsford could put his hand in front of his face and not see it. The dark is always scarier because our sense of sight is not as keen. Look I just noticed a typo. Is not as keen, and there are many unknowns, especially traveling near a place where he has never been. This is true. We know that he's traveling with Whitney, and he's never been past Ship Trap Island because they have a conversation about it. We know it's so dark, and we know it's a moonless night, and we hear some other descriptions about the night. It was like moist black velvet. So we get a lot of imagery going on. Okay, so my assertion is it's so dark that he could put his hand right in front of his face and not see it. And then just from my own experience, when it's dark, your sight isn't as keen, and there's many unknowns. I mean, you could be even in a familiar area and run into something. Maybe you've been in your home already and you've walked into a wall or you've stubbed your toe because it's been dark. So even in an area that's familiar, there's many unknowns. So think about an area that you don't know. To me, that makes it a scary place. The unknown can be a very scary thing. So now I need to I need to pull out a quote that proves my assertion. Okay? And I'm going to look over here. What is said? That's the quote. That's the area where I put my quote. And the quote that I'm choosing to support my assertion here, or my belief, is, "It was so dark that I could sleep without closing my eyes. The night would be my eyelids." Now this is a significant quote to prove my assertion here, right? It's so dark that Rainsford, that's who says it here, right? Going with the 3 W's. Who says it? Rainsford. It's so dark that Rainsford is saying, like, I don't need eyelids. The night would be my eyelids. Okay? And oftentimes when you think about darkness, or if you think about particular stories that have some elements of suspense, or they might be scary or unknown, darkness can convey a message of danger at times, okay, which does tie into the mood, atmosphere, and setting. And then, of course, where is it said? Page 14. So now I'm going to come over here to this column, and again, these are the 2 columns that you've already heard about, and I start here with giving some context. In this case, it's not a simple frame of who says it. It's a full, complete sentence. It's a full lead-in. So here I'm identifying Rainsford, right? Just like over here, who says it. Rainsford thinks about the darkness of the night. That's a full sentence, so here I end with a colon. Now I have my direct quote. "It was so dark that I could sleep without closing my eyes. The night would be my eyelids." That's a great metaphor. I love that. Now look, here's where my quotation mark starts for the direct quote. Here's where it ends. And again, my sentence is not finished here because I still need to give credit to the author. So I need to attach that parenthetical citation. So here we have the first parenthesis followed by Richard Connell, Richard's last name, Connell, and then a space, nothing in between, just a space, the page number, the other parenthesis, followed by a period, because that's closing up our sentence, okay? All right, let's look at one more example, and I only have like 15 minutes, so I'm going to go through this one pretty quick. So here we're looking at verbal irony, okay? So I have to make my assertion up, okay? And I'm going to skip around a little bit, and I'm going to talk about the quote first. So who's saying it? I am still a beast, or what said, "I'm still a beast at bay." That's the quote that I'm using right now to show verbal irony. Okay? And verbal irony, remember, is when somebody says something but they mean the opposite. Okay? When Rainsford says, "I'm still a beast at bay," he knows he's not a beast. Okay? But he's still trying to convey a particular message. All right? So now, what am I trying to say that he's asserting, or his belief is, with this quote? Rainsford does not truly mean that he's a beast, but he describes himself this way to show Zaroff how out of control his desire is to attack him. Rainsford's anger is stronger than his will to reason or do what is civil. Okay? That's my assertion. That's my belief, and I'm proving it with this quote that comes out of Rainsford's mouth when he says, "I'm still a beast at bay." Okay? And where is it said? Page 28. Now I have my frame, and this time I just have a comma because it's not a complete sentence. Rainsford tells General Zaroff, "I am still a beast at bay." Here we have our quotation marks, followed by the parenthetical citation, the parenthesis, Connell's last name, the page number, parenthesis, and period. Okay? And that is how you cite direct quotes. All right? So what I need you to do when you work on your own is you're going to look at each literary device or element, right? Theme, mood, atmosphere, setting, verbal irony, dramatic, situational, foreshadowing, and symbolism. And I need you to think about and reflect back on what you read and what your assertion is, for sure, about the theme of, and in this case it will be for you, the Cask of Amontillado, okay? So you want to be thinking about, what are some topics that come up in the Cask of Amontillado? Revenge happens to be one. My time's going to run out, so I'm going to have to quickly say goodbye.